Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Pacers are back in the NBA Finals for the first time in 25 years. Also, the Knicks are doing everything they can not to crash out after being eliminated. And Cam Ward and the Titans are getting hosed.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
For the first time in 25 years, the Indiana Pacers are going back to the NBA Finals. They took care of business over the weekend, a 125-108 win against the Knicks on Saturday night. Tony East from Locked On Pacers has been there every step of the way, and he joins me now. Tony, there are going to be people who are mad about this because they don't like Tyrese Halliburton for one reason or another, that they're going to talk about the injuries and all of that. But this Pacers team for the last 3-4 months, you look at the advanced metrics, this has been one of the best teams in basketball. What is the biggest reason they're here now in the NBA Finals?
Yeah, they were not good until the NBA Cup. They were 9-14, and they were 10-15, and they had this week off, and it all clicked. And there's a lot of reasons they'll give you. Around that time, Andrew Nembhard, who everybody has fallen in love with on these playoff stages, except for maybe Bucks fans and Cavs fans and Knicks fans, came back from injury. Maybe their best perimeter defender, playoff rising shooter, great player. Ben Shepherd returned right after that. He's a valuable defender. Aaron Nesmith came back in January. That's 3 of their best perimeter defenders, right? Tyrese Halliburton remembered how to play. He was very poor to start the season. Everybody was talking about what is going on here. Yeah. He ascended and became great again about mid-December. And all of a sudden they have defensive pieces. They have their talented offensive guy. And that's when their vision for the season actually happened, which was they ran it back from a conference finals team from last year, but they had a lot of young players, many of them who have already named, plus Benedict Mathurin. Obi Toppin's is inexperienced, even though he's older. So they have a lot of guys who had room for growth. And the thought was, well, if even just a few of them get better, the team will be better. And sure enough, that is what happened. It just took a very strange route to get there. And so from December onward, they got healthy. They actually got good on defense. They got an all-NBA caliber point guard. And altogether, that was enough for them to have, just like the third or second best record in the league since January 1st.
Yeah, that seems like a good thing to have if you could pick. Now they're facing, speaking of a good record, Oklahoma City Thunder team that won 68 games, could have probably got to 70 had they kept their foot on the pedal the last couple weeks there, and have just really, outside of the Denver series, blown through the postseason. And it's interesting to me, Tony, because the Pacers play this up-tempo style. They want to speed you up. They want to play you 94 feet. Well, if there's another team that's like, fine, cool, that's the Pacers. So stylistically, we love that phrase, styles make fights. What do you think of the styles in this fight?
Yeah, they both kind of have what is largely considered unique playoff strategies, but is not necessarily unique in this particular matchup. Like, the Thunder are also playing fast, but the reason their pace is so fast is because they end a lot of defensive possessions so fast with the turnover force or a steal, right? Like, they're so menacing on that end, so they get their possessions going quicker. They do play fast, right? But they're very comfortable at that tempo, and the Pacers don't like the adage of the game slows down in the playoffs. They also try to play fast. So, for all 3 of the Pacers' first 3 series, that was a big talking point of, they're going to play fast, one team's going to play slow. Who's going to set the tempo for the series? It's not only a thing in this one. This one's much different in that the Thunder want to force all these turnovers, and they have, relative to the rest of the league, like maybe the best defense ever in the NBA, which is crazy to think about. And the Pacers are like, no, we're just going to go against all the adages and play this way that's so complicated that everybody gets worn down and can't figure out how to stop us. But the Thunder have stopped everybody. So that is where I feel like it's a styles make fights thing. Is one team has an incredible, unbreakable, unless your name is Nikola Jokic, defense. The other team has an offense that's so random and fast that teams are like, we can't prepare for this. We don't know what we're doing. Which one of those will be better, I think, will obviously define who headlines this series, even though adjustments could change how it goes.
Yeah, and the subset of that to me is turnovers, right? The Oklahoma City you mentioned, they generate a metric ton of turnovers. Tyrese Halliburton had that incredible game the other day. Was it game 5?
Game 4.
Where he scores. He's the triple-double with no turnovers. Their main ball handler does not turn the ball over. This team is one of the best in the NBA taking care of the ball. Is that like going to be, you think, the bellwether in this series? Like if they have a good turnover set of games that they can win this finals, and if they don't, they can't?
That's a big part of it, yes, because I believe that on a per shot attempt basis, like the average efficiency of every shot attempt taken in the series, I bet the Pacers can get close to, if not exceed, the Thunder. Obviously, the Thunder have Shea, who can get all sorts of great efficient possessions on his own, and their offense is great because he's amazing at an MVP level. So per one shot, can the Pacers match the expected efficiency per shot? Yeah, maybe. But if they turn it over too much, they're toast, because Isaiah Hartenstein's a beast on the glass too. So they get extra possessions that way. Chad Holmgren's there. He's the second tallest player in the series. So the possession battle, the Thunder just always win it, and they never turn it over themselves, right? Their whole identity is kind of based around this possession math. So if the Pacers are losing the turnover battle every night, they're just basically starting down, 8 or 10-0. They can't have that. They have to find a way to overcome that, and they've been very good at it, but the Thunder have been very good at what they do too, and that's why that is where styles will make fights, is who can be better at the things that they're good at.
You can stay up to date all year on the Indiana Pacers by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Pacers on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. You're Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, the Knicks stars failed to execute in the clutch. Before we get to that, things are getting sideways quickly in college baseball. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. For the first time since 1999, a top national seed failed to even reach the regional final in the College World Series with a monster upset. Wright State, a number 4 regional seed from the Horizon League, toppled the number 1 overall seed, the Vanderbilt Commodores, 5-4. Griffin Page pitched the game of his life. Boston Smith and Luke Arnold homered early, and the Raiders clung on through a wild 9th-inning scare. College baseball's chaos is officially here. The NBA Finals are set, and a clash of small market teams deserves a little celebration, according to our Thunder's host.
I totally agree that this is a finals that should be celebrated, and it won't be by national circles. This is going to be beautiful basketball. Like the style of play, the pace of the game, like the stardom of those that actually watch the sport that they cover. Like, you understand who Tyrese Halliburton is. You understand who Pascal Siakam is. You understand who these guys are on both sides. It's not your job to cater and pander to the guys that do not watch the sport. It's your job to sell what you've seen, what you should have seen all season long if you were actually doing your job. And I'm so sick of the national media, because they did it to Indiana whenever they hosted the All-Star game. They did it to Salt Lake City whenever they hosted the All-Star game. Folks, you're getting paid to go to these markets and cover basketball.
Yeah.
You have travel paid for. You have the credential to the game. You have your lodging paid for. This is not a vacation. You're not vacationing to Indiana for All-Star Weekend. You're not vacationing to Oklahoma City on Thursday for Game 1 of the Finals. You are working. You are working the NBA Finals. It's about basketball. It's not about how big the cities are. It's not about the nightlife in the cities. It's about your job.
The Yankees got the bats going out west against the Dodgers.
Yankees salvaged the final game of the 3-game set against the Dodgers by getting a 7-3 victory and somehow getting it to Yamamoto. I'm Brian McKeon from Locked On Yankees. We'll be talking about it all week. The Yankees get an off day on Monday, and then they'll head back home to start up their homestand. And who had Ben Rice homering over Yamamoto? Better yet, who had the Yankees winning the Yamamoto start? That was the game that everyone thought they were going to have trouble with. They wound up winning that game and getting thoroughly embarrassed throughout the series, and I think that leads to what the take from this series is. The Yankees are not in the same class as the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers are the best team in baseball. The Dodgers are willing to make moves where they need to and willing to have a great player at every single position, and the Yankees are going to need to do that, and this series hopefully woke them up and let them know that they need to make some significant moves come trade deadline time. We'll be discussing that and much more on Locked On Yankees all week. I'm Brian McKeon.
And the Brewers toppled the Phillies 5-2 to earn a series sweep.
Hey, everybody. Covering the final day here at the U.S. Women's Open. Doesn't mean I wasn't following the Brewers game and watching that on my iPad here. Chuck Freeman, instant reaction, Locked On Brewers. Can you believe it's 7 in a row? 7 in a row. I didn't think this team was capable of winning more than 2 in a row. 7 in a row. They swept the Phillies. I don't care if Bryce Harper wasn't playing or not, man. They still went to Philadelphia and won a 3-game series. Terrific pitching. Quintana, the first 5, the rest of the bullpen. We'll have to check out Yeli's injury. The Brewers also DFA Alexander, but a win, a 3-game series sweep in Philadelphia. And man, they're into Cincinnati now. Reds better look out, man. The Brewers are charging here, looking for their 8th win in a row on Monday night. We'll talk to you a little bit later on tonight on the next edition of Locked On Brewers. Please subscribe.
The New York Knicks are heading home after failing to slow down the Indiana Pacers in Game 6. Locked On Knicks host Gavin Shaw and Alex Wolf discuss the game, series, and a crucial offseason that awaits.
Yeah, I'll close the door on Cat, I guess, just by saying, like, some of it could have been excused, I guess, if he was having like a supernatural offensive game, but even that was just everything that's been going in for him lately. Every layup around the rim, every drive, every whatever that he's been, largely making lately just did not go in. And that certainly didn't help matters. Like if he had dropped 40 in this game and the Knicks ended up winning it, or it was really close or whatever, then you say, whatever, I guess we could live with the defensive deficiencies to a degree because he kept them in it offensively. But, as it turns out, I mean, just a woeful shooting game for him, like 8 of 19 from the floor, 0-4 from 3. So couldn't get anything going from there. Granted, whatever, some of that's the scheme and the fact that the Knicks just don't ever look to get him involved with shooting threes. And Cat kind of just has to shoot like weird heat checks all the time. But then 6 of 10 from the free throw line too was pretty inexcusable. I mean, his free throw shooting was terrible. I'm with you. And I certainly empathize with him as someone who also has bad knees in his, 30s. Like some days when your knees aren't feeling good, you just can't do it. But, I think that it would have been on, this is, again, I feel like it'll be a consistent theme maybe throughout this episode, throughout this whole off season, depending on what the Knicks end up doing. Like, a lot of this comes back to Tibbs and never being willing to identify when something's not working or someone's having an off game and sub them out, even though it's the tough decision. Like, I think there were a lot of times where just having Mitch out there with, all the shooters would have been more beneficial, or even Mitch out there with the rest of the former starting lineup instead of Cat, like could have been beneficial in this game. But, Tibbs pushed those buttons way too late in this game. Like they were already down by double figures and, things were not looking good by the time he finally gets Mitch in. And, it was like Mitch had a great first half. Having him potentially close when you can't hit a shot makes a lot of sense because he gets you second, third opportunities all the time. So I don't understand why Tibbs waited so long to push that button. But also it doesn't help that Brunson just, I mean, for as on as he was in the last game, he was equally as off in this game. Just could not get by the defense that the Pacers were playing on him, which it was Nembhard more in this game than Nesmith. Nembhard was all up in him for like the whole game, and they had a couple tussles. There was one where, Nembhard just kind of blatantly like pushed Brunson and then was confused why he got a foul called on him. There's another one where Brunson coming down the floor to create a little space, like throws a little headbutt into his chest. Like just a lot going on in terms of how that matchup played out. But clearly, they got under Brunson's skin. The Knicks also, I don't think were as creative in setting up scenarios to get Brunson the ball in this game as well, to shake that defense. Like I thought there was more, so that there was still having Mikal bring the ball down, having, Hart bring the ball down, whatever. And they were doing that. But then it seemed like all that they were trying to do is just free Brunson up on the perimeter to receive the pass, rather than last game where they kind of caught the Pacers off guard by having Brunson like cut off an off-ball screen and get in that way, or just in general use an off-ball screen, get it, and then, work with the defense tilted already. There was just none of that in this game, or at least very little of it compared to the previous game. And I don't fully understand, why they didn't go to that more. Granted, it also didn't help that, like, I thought that in general, especially, again, I don't want to pick on the guy, but like from Cat, the screens were horrendous in this game. Anytime that he went to set a screen, he was avoiding the contact like the plague. And, that was, again, very different from how he was in game 5 just a couple of days ago. So, that's part of it. And that's part of why I think Brunson also wasn't able to get free as much as he maybe wanted to, and why Nembhard was able to just get around those screens as much. But still, Brunson has a rep of being one of the best one-on-one scorers in the game. He has toasted Nembhard before in the past. And, he did it all of last playoff, certainly. So I don't know. Something just seemed off with him as well. He didn't seem quite as, I don't know how to explain it. He just didn't have that it factor in this game. And as a result, I mean, he has, as much as I just said, Cat had a bad shooting game. Jalen Brunson, 8 of 18, 2 of 7 from 3, just 1 of 2 from the free throw line. Didn't seem as adept at getting inside and getting free throw opportunities, which is certainly a big part of him being able to have big scoring games. And, as a result, he ends 3rd on the team in scoring for this game, which, again, not something you probably thought would happen.
Stay up to date all year on the New York Knicks by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Knicks on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, Cam Ward isn't getting enough attention. Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans won't see a single primetime game in 2025. Locked On NFL host Ross Jackson explains why he believes the Titans, specifically Cam Ward, are being disrespected and underappreciated.
My conviction that Cam Ward is the most undervalued number 1 overall quarterback I think I've ever seen. I've watched the Rams draft subpar. I have watched the Jets draft subpar. I've watched all these teams in the top 3 or whatever draft these quarterbacks that had no business being drafted that early, and walk their way into, oh, this might be the guy that turns the franchise around, blah, 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 blah. And for whatever reason, Cam Ward gets drafted 5 rounds before Shedeur Sanders. As much as I believe Shedeur Sanders should have gone much earlier, so much of the conversation around Cam Ward has nothing to do with Cam Ward. And it is the strangest thing to me. And the fact that for whatever reason, he was not enough for the Tennessee Titans, an intriguing team that also has like a lot of changes going on with it, to not even get them a Thursday night game, Tony. I'm not even talking about a real primetime game. How about a Thursday night game? Couldn't get him anything. There is something to that, and it does further my concern that Cam Ward is just completely disrespected in the NFL right now.
Yeah, you know what? He's so disrespected.
We normally do care more about number 1 overall picks, especially when they're quarterbacks. But Caleb Williams was the number 1 overall pick last year, a player who had multiple seasons in college, was discussed ad nauseum through the pre-draft process, and was widely considered an elite prospect. He also went to a storied franchise. Now, have they had a story worth telling in 40 years? No, but the history is there. This is one of the iconic NFL franchises. Caleb Williams getting some national TV shine makes some sense. Even Trevor Lawrence, who was a superstar from like the time he stepped on campus at Clemson, going to Jacksonville, didn't get that many big opportunities right away because it's Jacksonville. And this is the problem. This is the AFC South, already a conference that most NFL fans only care about on Thursday night because they are, at least for long stretches, were the Thursday night game all the time. Even that, apparently, not good enough for this Tennessee Titans team. But this Tennessee Titans team, shout out to our guy, Tyler Rowland. This is one of just the most boring teams I can think of. Because Cam Ward is an exciting player, no doubt. but he was not an elite prospect coming out. He was the number 1 overall pick by default in a draft class where if Travis Hunter goes number 1 overall, yeah, maybe that's a little bit more exciting. But in Tennessee, who's going to throw him the ball? They have a coach that I don't think the average NFL fan could pick out of a lineup. I don't think, frankly, the average NFL fan even knows who the coach is. This is kind of a boring team. In a great city, Nashville's a great town. Tennessee is a great sports state. But this team, this pick, the vibes, it's all a little boring. It's hard to blame the NFL here. And finally, Scottie Scheffler just keeps rolling, and now he's got Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods in his rearview mirror. Scheffler cruised to a 4-shot win at the Memorial, becoming the first back-to-back champ at Muirfield Village since Woods in the early 2000s. With 3 wins in his last 4 starts, including the PGA Championship, Scheffler's dominance starting to look downright historic. And with the U.S. Open coming up, the rest of the field has to be wondering if anyone can stop golf's ultimate fairways and greens machine. This stat from Justin Ray, golf extraordinaire in terms of media personalities. He had this stat that over the last 30 years, only 2 players have more successful title defenses on the PGA Tour now that Scottie Scheffler has his 3rd. Phil Mickelson has 5. Tiger Woods, 23. Still a long way to go for Scottie to catch Tiger. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, we get you set for Thunder Pacers in the NBA Finals. So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.